We greet you from the south side of Philadelphia as the Cubs and the Phillies open up a weekend series, and we welcome Cub fans from all over the country watching on WGN America, America's home for baseball. Great to have you with us. Along with Jim DeShays, I'm Len Casper. The Cubs have dropped to 3 of 4, and the last time they saw the Phillies, the Cubs were opening up Wrigley Field this season, and Chase Utley was red hot.
Oh my, Chase Utley's put up very good numbers against the Cubs throughout his career. Lifetime .330 hitter against Cub pitching, and he was scorching in that series back at Wrigley Field. This is an old club, this Philly club. It's a last place club right now. Some of their veteran guys are really trending downward, but not Chase Utley. He's having a very nice year. He'll likely be the starting second baseman for the All-Star team this year. That will be his 6th All-Star assignment, first time since 2010. Here are the numbers from that series at Wrigley. 6 out of 11, a couple of doubles. That's his forte. A couple of long balls, and he drove in 5.
And the Phillies won 2 of those 3 games. It'll be Jake Arrieta for the Cubs, coming off a terrific outing.
Yeah, boy, he's been really, really good at home, and he's had his struggles on the road. But overall, he's pitched quite well. You see the breakdown, no wins, no losses at home, with an 0.56 ERA. 4 road starts, 1-1 with a 4.05. Pitched very well for the Cubs last year and to start at Wrigley against this Philly team.
The former Fausto Carmona, he's now known as Roberto Hernandez, and you see what he's done his last few starts.
Yeah, he pitched in that opening series at Wrigley and threw the ball quite well. He's a sinker ball guy. You got to force him to get the ball up in the zone.
Leg 2 of a 3-city trip. We're in Philly. The Cubs and Phillies will open up a weekend series when we return. Are waiting. Grab some buds. Ford, manufacturers of America's best-selling brand. Check out our best-selling lineup at your local Ford store or online at localfordstores.com. And by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Cubs baseball in high definition on WGN TV is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Philly Fanatic having some fun with Cubs shortstop Starlin Castro. And you may recognize those uniforms from 1964. It is 1960s retro weekend here in Philadelphia. Both teams tonight wearing their 1964 replicas. The weather a factor. It rained a lot A few hours ago, it has stopped. It is expected to rain again at some point tonight. But we've had 3 delays the last 2 nights, so hopefully that will not happen again.
I think that rain just followed us over from Pittsburgh. But yeah, hopefully we'll get it in without a problem. If not, we shall endure.
Now Rick Renteria's Cubs lineup brought to you by Mazda and the 2014 Mazda 3 with seamless connectivity. Emilio Bonifacio's on the DL, so Coughlin's going to lead it off. Ryan Sweeney off the DL to replace Bonifacio. Rizzo, Castro, the red-hot Valbuena. Former Philly Nate Scherholtz is in right. John Baker, the catcher. Darwin Barney will play second and bat 8. And Jake Arrieta, the pitcher, hits 9th.
Take a look at the Phils defensively. Dominic Brown in left. Tony Gwynn Jr. gets a start in center. Marlon Byrd is the right fielder. Brignac joins the veterans Rollins, Utley, and Howard on the infield, and another veteran behind the plate. Carlos Chuch Ruiz does the catching, and another veteran on the mound. This is an old club. Roberto Hernandez, he's 33 years of age, 2-4 with a 4.35 ERA, making his 12th start. He's also worked out of the pen on 3 different occasions. Sinker baller. So he doesn't strike out many. You see he's below average in terms of a strikeout rate. He's walked a little more than he would like. He's allowed 7 home runs. 61 and 86 his lifetime mark. He was an all-star for the Indians in 2010. And he finished 4th in the Cy Young Award voting in 2007. He was a 19-game winner that year.
Mark Ripperger gets the plate. Lance Barksdale, the crew chief Gary Cedarstrom, and Will Little on the bases. This has not been a fun place for the Cubs. They have never won a series in this ballpark, which opened in 2004, and they haven't won a series in Philadelphia since 2001. So Chris Coghlan leads off and takes a strike. He's done this a lot in his career, and he's been pretty good as a leadoff batter. Low and outside.
I am digging those Cub uniforms.
I really like it. Yeah, those are the unis Billy and Ronnie and Ernie wore in the mid-1960s. Very sharp. Phillies unis actually pretty close to the ones they wear now, except they've got that off-white look with the red pinstripes. It's bounced foul. Now 64 was not memorable here for the right reasons in Philadelphia, but Jim Bunning did throw a perfect game on Father's Day, and they will honor that coming up on Sunday.
Yeah, 1964, the year the Phillies had a 6.5 game lead with 12 to play, and they let it get away. Dropped 10 in a row before winning the final 2 games of the season, but finished a game back. It was a tribute to Bunning out there.
So the 50th anniversary, that perfect game was on June 21st, but it happened to be Father's Day. And this year, that is in 2 days. Full count on Coghlan. Bonifacio to the DL. We mentioned he injured himself 2 pitches into the game last night in Pittsburgh. He's got right rib cage inflammation. That ball drilled right into your living room. A leadoff single for Coghlan.
And I believe last night you were commenting on Coughlin's high line drive percentage, and there you go, solid line drive single off Hernandez. And this is exactly what I talked about in the open. Get him up, and you can inflict some damage. When that sinker's down, it's got good bite. He gets a lot of ground balls, but when it's up, bad things happen for Hernandez.
Pitched under the assumed name of Fausto Carmona through 2011.
I know,
he was an all-star in 2010.
That's why I just balked saying his name. Trying to figure out who he is.
Yeah, broadcaster balk. So Ryan Sweeney with his first action since the 2nd of May. He had a strained hamstring, just came off the DL. Ryan was in the Kane County lineup in Peoria last night and then got scratched. He drove back to Chicago, got up around 5:30 this morning. As you check out the Cubs injury report, sponsored by Illinois Bone and Joint Institute. Illinois Bone and Joint Institute, helping you move better so you could live better. Visit ibji.com. Had a flight delay today. It's been a long day for Ryan, but he's in the lineup and he hits a ground ball toward right, knocked down neatly by Chase Utley, who will get the out at first. Coughlin now in scoring position with one away.
Opportunity to go first and third here, but Utley slams the door on that. Nice sliding play. His only option is first base, so he gets Sweeney, but Coughlin moves into scoring position. RBI chance for Rizzo.
And a chance to get on the board early. The Cubs last night in Pittsburgh were shut out for the 9th time already this season. 64 games.
Phillies just coming off a 3-game sweep with the San Diego Padres. Prior to that, they had lost 8 out of 9. On base plus slugging up over 900. It's fairly rarefied air.
Misses outside. 2 balls, no strikes.
Yeah, you know, typically Hernandez throws a lot of pitches. He's had a lot of short outings. Last time out, he went just 4 innings, allowed 4 hits, 4 runs. That was in a loss to the Reds. He's gone 6 or more in only 4 of his 11 starts. And you see the line on that outing against Cincinnati. Kind of runs contrary to what you would think with a sinker baller. Typically those are, you know, pitch to contact guys that throw a bunch of strikes and try to get the ball put in play early.
Here's his 2-0 pitch. It's a strike on the changeup.
But sometimes what you try to do and what you're capable of doing are 2 different things.
.6'4", 230, 33 years old.
That 901 OPS on Rizzo we showed you, that's good for 11th best in the National League.
Outside, ball 4.
That helps the O part of it there. The on base percentage, 401 coming in. That OPS, that's 3rd best. We're talking about the All-Star game here the other night. That's among National League third basemen. He trails Paul Goldschmidt and Adam LaRoche. I didn't know LaRoche was having that good of a year. He's putting up very good numbers.
Here's Castro with 2 aboard. Fastball strike. A quiet, late arriving crowd with the rain and the late Friday afternoon rush hour traffic.
Speaking of late arriving, Cubs got in awfully late last night after that lengthy rain delay in Pittsburgh.
Always good to see the Hall of Famer Ryne Sandberg. It has been a trying first full season. Took over late last year for Charlie Manuel. Got a multiple-year contract. And this is a team that looks to be in transition here shortly. JD mentioned it's an aging ball club, high payroll.
Yeah, and losing. It's a terrible combination. If you've got a younger, low payroll, losing club, and you're, optimistic about the future with a bunch of bright prospects, talking specifically about a team like the Cubs, the Astros, starting to show signs. The Phillies are just the opposite. One of the highest payrolls in all of baseball, one of the oldest average ages in terms of the roster in all of baseball. Got some veteran guys with great resumes that are on the decline, and for a new manager, even a guy with the chops of Ryan Sandberg, that's a tough situation to go into.
Swing and a miss for strike 3.
Because when a team is bad, the tendency is to try to do things to make them better. So you try to change the culture, maybe you change the program a little bit. You've got a lot of guys that have been here a long time, and you're going to get some pushback.
Well, their payroll about $177 million. The average age on the roster is 31. Valbuena in a good spot. Batting with runners on base. He's been so hot here lately. This is a guy you want up there hitting .390 over his last 23 games. His batting average on balls in play during this stretch an ungodly .459, but he's hitting line drives all around the yard. This one bounced just foul past first. The Cubs may lead the world in retro unis this year. Celebrating Wrigley Field's 100th birthday. Tonight, the 12th time they have worn a throwback uniform in a regular season game. The 5th time already this year. They're wearing 10 throwbacks at home. Outside on an 0-2.
Valbuena 8 out of 14 in the series in Pittsburgh.
Ground ball. Howard leaves his feet. Little flip. Hernandez at the bag, and they get Valbuena. Couple of nice plays over there on the right side, and the Cubs do not score. .92 runs per game. They're in the bottom half in the National League. Tony Gwynn Jr. will lead it off. Rare start for him. Jimmy Rollins a couple of hits away from a big-time Phillies record. More on that coming up. We talked about Utley in the open, Ryan Howard, Marlon Byrd, the former Cub, back here in Philadelphia. Dominic Brown, a disappointing follow-up to an all-star season last year. Carlos Ruiz is the catcher. Reed Brignac, 2 huge hits in that sweep over the Padres, and the pitcher Hernandez still without a hit in his career.
Cubs in the field, outfield, Coghlan, Sweeney, Shearholtz. Infield, Valbuena, Castro, Barney, and Rizzo. And behind the plate, John Baker. For 28-year-old right-hander Jake Arrieta, he's 1-1. Through 7 starts, ERA at 2.50. Note the home runs, just 1 home run allowed so far for Nate. He's getting ground balls at a much, Jake, excuse me, getting ground balls at a much higher rate this year than he has in the past. Fastball that can reach the mid-90s. Good curveball, cutter, slider, change. You see some of the deeper numbers. The whip a little high, primarily due to walks. But overall, pretty good stuff from Jake Arrieta. His deal is all about efficiency. He's had a number of starts where the pitch count has gotten so high they've had to get him out early.
And the pitch to Gwynn is a strike called. From 2003 to 2010, the Phillies finished no lower than 5th in the National League in runs. Last year they finished 13th. They're 10th this season.
10th in runs, 10th in batting average, 12th in home runs hit.
Used to walk a lot. Outside, 2 balls and a strike. Big storyline this weekend is that guy, Jimmy Rollins. He's 1 hit behind Mike Schmidt for the franchise career record. And he has exactly 1 hit in each of his last 7 games. Pretty significant milestone when you think about how long the Phillies have been around. It's 1883. As Arrieta strikes out Gwynn to start it.
Schmidt, of course, a different kind of player than Rollins. Schmidt, a big slugger, but he also a high average hitter. And Rollins, too, has got a little pop. Nothing along the lines of Mike Schmidt.
It's interesting. Schmidt recently talked about Rollins in terms of his Hall of Fame candidacy. He said if Barry Larkin's in the Hall, you can certainly make a case for Rollins. Schmidt also said that he thinks that Jimmy has sacrificed his batting average a bit by swinging for home runs. It's that ball high in the air. Coghlan in left center will make the grab.
And does he say that as a bad thing or just a factual thing?
No, I think what he's saying is if he wanted to have a higher batting average, he probably could have if he didn't hit as many home runs, which I think is more
probably
factual.
Maybe a better player by sacrificing some batting average to hit for some power. 07, the MVP. He's got 4 Gold Gloves. One of those guys, you hit him lead off and really excel in that role, but certainly a good enough hitter to command that 3 spot in the batting order.
That brings up Utley. He's only missed 4 starts this year. Going into the season, he hadn't played 150 games since 2009. He's got that real late practice swing as the pitcher's getting ready to throw to the plate. He really stands out.
Yeah, and he's really quick inside. Tough to beat with an inside fastball.
That last swing is actually as Arrieta is into his windup. Mick Utley. Yeah, it was Sammy Rollins Jr. They're taking this 60s bit to the max tonight. Two and one.
Who was the newsman? Wasn't there Garrett Utley in the 60s? That's who he should have been.
Just got a piece of it. Garrick. Yeah, Garrick Utley. And in honor of the 60s, we're using cameras from that period.
What's up
the
with
high
that guy
def
there?
version.
What's the guy there in the gray? Was he supposed to be? Was he one of the Beatles?
Yeah, it was a Beatles tribute band. His hair looked a little different, though. Ground ball toward the middle. Barney will backhand. He's got some time, and he gets Utley. Phillies go 1, 2, 3. '80s baseball blog at WGNTV.com. Sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your nationwide insurance agent, serving the area for 36 years. To join up, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side. We've got game notes from Stats previewing this series, so check it out at WGNTV.com. Former Philly Nate Scherholz takes a strike. 37 games at the end of 2012 after being acquired from the Giants in the Hunter Pence deal. And he signed with the Cubs as a free agent. One ball, one strike. Mendez coming back. Ground ball right to Utley. Cub fans, if you want to manage the game along with Rick Renteria, log on to WGNTV.com right now. Click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner and connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and info while you're watching at home. Game Zone is sponsored by The Great Escape. Pools, patio sets, play sets, hot tubs, and more. strike on the catcher, Baker. Now 0-2. I'd be totally fine if it didn't rain again tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
3 delays over the last 2 nights in western Pennsylvania. I know they got a lot of rain here yesterday as the Phillies in the process of sweeping the Padres. But then there are occasions when the locals say, yeah, but we really need the rain.
Don't have the rain. Tomato plants won't grow without rain.
Yeah, and I mean, there are 21 other hours in a day for it to downpour if it would like. City Center. They don't call it downtown. Well, the big buildings are. It's the center of Philadelphia as Baker swings and misses.
Good change up there by Hernandez. Flashed out a couple times in the first inning as well. Quick hand, got a little fade down and away, and Baker way out in front.
So his second strikeout, and now it's Darwin Barney, who has now made 4 consecutive starts for the first time this season. Sinker came to bite, and Barney able to fight it off. 0-2.
Hernandez, one of those guys with reverse splits. He's been better against left-handed hitters than right-handed hitters. Probably because of the changeup. Lefty's hitting just .221 against him. The pitch less effective against the same side hitter. And that sinker moving in, if it's up, that moves into the power of a right-handed hitter. So that pitch right there becomes a key for him if he can command the fastball away to the right-handed hitters.
Too low.
Darwin with a couple of knocks in last night's game. Should have had 3. Starlin Marte made a heck of a play on him.
Foul tip. Strike 3. And the Cubs go down in order. A couple of Ks in the inning for Hernandez. us your Cubs selfies at #WGN Cubs. That is the ball, Greg Luzinski. And you see part of Doug Stanton's face, our associate producer. And should we get a new selfie song? We have been tweeted that maybe we should. Lil Diva currently owns the title. So here's some ideas we came up with. I mentioned Billy Idol, Dancing with Myself. JD coming up with Photograph by Ringo Starr, and our crew, I'm Too Sexy by Right Said Fred.
And no matter how you vote, it doesn't mean we're going to use what you vote.
Right.
We're going to
curious
maintain
to hear what your thoughts are.
Dictatorship here.
Too sexy for my shirt, so sexy it hurts.
Had to go wrong with Ringo. Ryan Howard. Ryan the Stilt. And one time he was a premier home run hitter in this game, 2004 to 2011. He slugged .560. Not number of home runs, that was his slugging percentage. But since 2012 down to .435.
Well, you know, he still has power, but what happens when bat speed diminishes as the player gets older, he has to cheat a little bit more to get to the fastball and tend to swing and miss more frequently. So the batting average suffers, and strikeouts go up. Still has the ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark when he catches up to it.
Recently went over 1,000 RBIs in his career, 322 home runs.
Well, he's among the league leaders in RBIs with 41. But when you look at the numbers, and again, we're going to talk about batting average being overrated. RBI very much a function, of course, of the lineup you're in and the opportunities you get. Rover's got him.
We'll go 4-3.
He's actually had 50 more at bats than Anthony Rizzo with men on base. Now visit WrigleyField100.com to find out all that the Cubs have in store for next homestand's 1950s celebration. The 10-game homestand will feature matchups against the Pirates, Reds, and Nationals. There'll be a split doubleheader on Saturday, June 28th as part of that homestand. Tickets are available, so visit Cubs.com to purchase your seats today.
Former Cub Marlon Byrd was an all-star with the Cubs in 2010, back with his original organization on a 2-year contract. That is a slider at 91. How about that?
Yeah, he throws a curveball, a slider, and a cutter, and you know, a curveball is obviously a softer pitch with deeper break, but the slider cutter kind of thing is a hybrid. One guy's slider is another man's cutter, is another man's slurve in this game, but you know, he does have 3 different breaking pitches that move away from right-handed hitters.
On the slider, he averages almost 89 miles an hour. That was a fastball that was apparently just below the knees. And it's 2-2. Dominic Brown on deck. We're in the second, nothing. Throwback night. Both teams wearing 1964 replicas. That was a cutter at 93. And it's full, 3-2.
I think we got a little bit of a hot gun, too.
I think you're right.
May explain some of the stories we've heard about. Maybe we got this kid that throws 100 miles an hour here.
Ken Giles, We'll see him at some point this weekend. Well, I guess the stadium gun yesterday had him at 100, and PitchFX had him at 99.1. So only off by
yeah, not that
one digit.
Yeah, it's funny. I got talking velocity with Steve Blass, former big league pitcher, longtime big league pitcher, and longtime broadcaster for the Pirates, over in Pittsburgh the other night. See ya. And Steve was reminiscing about his first at bat ever against Nolan Ryan. And this was when Nolan was first coming up to the Mets, was very young, very raw, and very wild. And Jerry Gordy was catching, and Steve stepped into the batter's box, and he looked at Jerry and said, "Here's the deal. I'm not going to swing. You just don't let him hit me." Because I'm looking out at him, and the kid, he's huffing and puffing and snarling, staring at a home plate. So I promise you, I will not swing. This will be over with quickly. Just don't let him hit me.
And
he didn't hit him, and it was over with quickly.
So Brown really scuffling. He had a big series at Wrigley in April. 6 hits, 2 walks, knocked in 3. Had a big first half. He made the All-Star team in 2013, and he hits ground ball to Barney. Jake Arrieta's faced 6 and retired all of them after 2. No score from Phillies. Wrigley 100 moment. We go back to June 16th, 1981, as the Tribune Company bought the Cubs. The Wrigley family ending a relationship with the ball club that had stretched back to 1915, when William Wrigley Jr. became a minority stockholder. Strike on Jake Arrieta. That's brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Strike 2. Looks to me like Hernandez could probably wear a size or 2 smaller in terms of the retro uni, but
yeah,
works for him.
Yeah, some guys like to have a little freedom of movement out there. TC Sabathia comes to mind.
Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Boy, that changeup dipping and darting out of the zone. 3 straight strikeouts for Hernandez. Back to the top and Coghlan. He said he'll mix and match and look for somebody to kind of step up in Emilio Bonifacio's absence in terms of the leadoff spot. Center and second. Bonifacio pretty versatile defensively.
Yeah, that's where you really get hurt because of his ability to move around the field. It allows you to make late game changes and helps manage that short bench. He plays with a 4-man bench because they're carrying an extra guy in the bullpen, and that's not going to change. And we got some young prized arms out there that they want to be careful with. Bonifacio, a switch hitter who can play multiple positions, is very valuable if you're going to have a 4-man bench.
Bounced foul. Nice pick by Eric Hinsky.
Always ready to make a play. Found a Cub fan.
Two strikes on Coughlin.
Seems to me like the big guys like Hintz really look good in the old-time uniforms. Plus he's got that helmet on, so he's got the no flap thing going.
Oh yeah.
Looks like Hack Wilson out there. Hack was about 5'6".
Got him on the comeback sinker.
Strike everybody out here.
One probably feels like it's going to hit your kneecaps, and then it tracks back over the plate.
Just checking on the pitch tracks. Yeah, good pitch. Caught the corner.
Phillies without Cliff Lee right now. He's on the DL. He's a strained elbow. We will not see Cole Hamels in this series. Cubs will face David Buchanan tomorrow and A.J. Burnett on Sunday. Edwin Jackson tomorrow. Travis Wood, Game 3.
A lot of people thought the Phillies should have started to move on from this veteran club a couple of years ago, but Ruben Amaro Jr., the general manager, obviously ownership on board with this plan to try to make one more run at it with this veteran club. So instead of dumping veterans, they've been hanging on or adding A.J. Burnett. A guy who's contemplating retirement. They signed him on $15-16 million, something in that range. Don't know what they're going to do with the trade deadline now, though. .38-36. It's been a rough go, but they're still only 6.5 games out of first place.
Struck well, but it'll be caught by Gwynn. So Sweeney lines out. The Cubs done in the third. 0-0. family reunions, and bachelor or bachelorette parties. Individual and group tickets are available for all games. For more details, go to WrigleyvilleRooftops.com or call 773-248-ROOF. Jake Arrieta has been really good once again tonight. Last start, tough no decision, 6 innings, 3 hits, no runs. Left with a 2-0 lead as the Cubs ended up dropping a 4-3 decision to the Miami Marlins. Arrieta started a month late. Spent the first month on the DL with right shoulder tightness. Here's a 2-0 to Carlos Ruiz. He's always had a keen eye at the plate.
Yeah, you see that 390 on base percentage, among the league leaders in pitches seen per plate appearance.
Be followed by Reed Brignac and then the pitcher Hernandez.
Doesn't it seem like all catchers should have a real good idea of the strike zone?
Yeah, it does. Not all of them do, though. That's the thing about this game, though. Offense and defense are two very separate things.
Think of a guy who's back there catching all the time, seeing as many pitches as he does, should have a really good eye at the plate. Of course, having a good eye and being willing to take pitches doesn't always translate either. Some guys are just swingerish.
Brignac getting his 10th start at third base. Cody Ashe's on the disabled list. He hit a game-ending 3-run homer in the 9th on Wednesday. It beat the Padres, and then the go-ahead 2-run double off the bench in the 6th yesterday. So it's the first time a big leaguer in 2 consecutive games had a game-ending homer and then a pinch hit game-winning RBI since Ed Sprague did it in 2000. The first Philly to ever do it. Fastball missed outside. Always good to see the fanatic. Good slider under the bat. And swing by Brignac. Was a changeup, I think.
Yeah, I think it was just a situation where Jake had his mind made up. He wanted to throw that changeup. It took Baker a while to come around to calling it.
Phillies have a base runner. It's the first one of the night on the 1-out walk.
back with that cutter down and in, just missed the inside corner.
So Hernandez will try to bunt Brignac to second. Hernandez 0 for 18 this year. He's 0 for 36 in his career with 21 strikeouts. So
he doesn't even know how to square around.
I was going to say Rhino's probably hoping.
Got the bunt down.
He'll get the out at first. I'm going to say not sure Rhino was expecting him to get the bunt down. He was hoping he would, and he did.
Yeah, and then a tough pitch to get down. It's a pitch he probably should have left alone. They're having a good laugh about it over there in the Philly dugout. If he doesn't bunt it, it hits him in the chest. I think here the play should have gone to second base, because even if you don't get the lead runner there, you're still going to be able to get Hernandez over at first base. If you turn and wheel, you probably get him. You probably get two and get out of the inning. And even if you don't, but again, I don't have the ball in my hand. Because, you know, maybe sometimes when you pick the ball up and you don't have the grip, set your hand just right. So yeah, I'm not going to risk it. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I get an out here. Which at the end of the day is always a prudent strategy early in a ball game. Late in the game, 7th inning, nothing. You're going to be aggressive there, trying to nail that lead runner.
The 1-0 to Gwynn. 2-0 with Rollins on deck. Runner at second, 2 outs. We're in the third, and a scoreless tie. Brignac walked with 1 out. That moved to second on a sac bunt by the pitcher. Caught the outside. Much happening offensively. The Cubs have 1 hit. The Phillies don't have any. And here's a 2-2. It's full.
A little different feel than what we saw in Pittsburgh the last few days. A ton of base runners in that series. That Pirate Club really swinging the bats well. I thought the pitching lines ultimately for Hamill and Samardzija didn't really reflect. Certainly not their stuff. They both had very good stuff in their outings. Made some mistakes, but just didn't get away with any mistakes. You know, typically, you're going to misfire, not hit your spot. Sometimes, you usually get away with it a little bit. Just didn't seem to be the case in those last 2 ball games.
3-2 with 2 outs. A swing and a miss. Strike 3. And the inning is over. Scoreless after 3.
8:15 first pitch. First 10,000 fans at the ballpark will receive a Cubs t-shirt presented by Cooper Tires. Tickets are still available, so visit Cubs.com to purchase your seats today.
Sinker outside, ball one on Anthony Rizzo. Castro and Valbuena also due for the Cubs here in the fourth. He can keyhole him here. This is a home run friendly ballpark.
Try to cut off this sinker. Overthrew it. Airmailed it. You get the feeling if he didn't swing the bat the rest of his AB, he would ultimately draw a walk. But he's paid to drive the ball. They may turn him loose here on 3-0. Didn't matter. Not even close enough to tempt him.
So he has walked two. And both have been with Rizzo at the plate. Now Castro. Cubs yesterday signed veteran catcher Yorvit Torrealba to a minor league deal. The Yankees today have signed Heath Bell, three-time All-Star closer, who has struggled to a minor league deal. Cut loose by Tampa Bay in early May. Slider strike on Starlin. Rafael for call off the DL. Activated by the Miami Marlins. They're hosting the Pirates, who lead the Fish 3-2 in the third.
The Cardinals activated Matt Adams today and demoted their top prospect Oscar Taveras. Taveras really had struggled since being recalled, was hitting a .189.
Adam Wainwright might miss a start because of elbow tendonitis. He says it's not a serious issue. The Cardinals certainly hope so, as Castro sends one high and deep, left center, ground back. That ball is gone. Just over the 374 marker, and it's 2-0 Cubs.
Left center may be the most friendly part of this ballpark. When I left the bat, I thought that's not going to get out of here. It was too high, but Castro with enough power to carry it out of here for his 9th home run. And the Cubs jump out to a 2-0 lead. On base plus slugging. The walk in front of the home run ball.
Valbuena hits a ground ball. Howard's going to let it go. Utley will field with Hernandez covering. That goes 4-1.
I think those guys have played together for a while out there. Trio of Howard, Utley, and Rollins have been together a good long while now. Watch Howard initially pursue and then say, I got a guy over there that'll handle that for me.
Utley and Howard have made 1,002 starts together, the most on the right side of the infield of any active major league tandem. Rollins and Utley 1,126 games as a double play combo, leading all of baseball. Certainly makes you think about guys like Whitaker and Trammell, Vidro and Cabrera with the Expos. Who else comes to mind? Cano, Jeter together for a fair amount of time.
Alomar and Vizquel in Cleveland, maybe not for the longevity, but boy, they were so good together. But Concepcion and Morgan.
Whitaker and Trammell have the all-time record, right? It was like 18 or 19 seasons together. Line in the left center. Gwynn will chase it down. Scherholtz has to hurry. He's going to be out. What a throw. Well, Nate made one of those throws last night. And we've been talking about outfield throws. With Cespedes having such a big week, and Tony Gwynn with a really nice play.
Yeah, hustling on over there. Picks it on the backhand side, and then a good strong throw in. I like the play by Scherholtz, though. I mean, they had to do everything just right to get him. The play's out in front of him. He sees it develop the whole way.
So 2 outs in the inning.
But I guess if you go into the Wayback Machine, right, prior to free agency, there must have been some tandems that played together a good long while.
Yeah, certainly more rare now to see guys together for as long as Utley and Rollins have played together. Swing and a miss on the changeup. It's even at 2-2. Cubs trying to win on Friday the 13th. Clark Baloo, yeah, mentioning Sandberg and Dunston.
Lopes and Russell in Los Angeles had a pretty good run. Tinkers to Evers to Chance had a pretty good run.
Utley with a nice adjustment as that second hop took away from him. Castro took the high pitch up and out, and the Cubs lead 2-0 in the fourth.
Xfinity. Last time out, Jake Arrieta with 6 scoreless innings so far tonight. 3 scoreless innings, 1 base runner, a 1-out walk in the third to bring the Yankees punched out 3. His stuff is really, really good. We've seen that fastball sitting in the mid-90s. Breaking stuff is sharp. And he's on his way to another good outing.
Rollins will start it here in the bottom of the 4th. Cubs leading 2-zip. Castro with a 2-run blast. Called strike. Rollins a switch hitter. Debuted back in 2000. 15th season. He's been a really durable guy. In the 2,000 career games. There's a 1-1 that's fouled out of play. Pitchers with a lot of movement tonight. He's had good success with them to this point. Yanked foul. The MVP season for Rollins. Won a Gold Glove and a Silver Slugger award. Came in 07. He had 20 triples that year. 30 homers, 38 doubles, 41 steals. Three-two cutter, and the bottom fell out of it, and Rollins couldn't find it.
A couple pitches on the edge there, everything else down and away. Rollins at the end of the day looking for that record tying base hit. His next knock will tie Mike Schmidt for their all-time franchise lead, so he's kind of in swing mode. Player gets that close to a record like that, they just want to get it over with. One to tie, 2 to pass Mike Schmidt. Schmidt's probably telling him, hey man, let's go, get it over with, or I'm going to leave town.
Arrieta at times can be rather inefficient. That has not been the case tonight. And I sound like Sparky Anderson with all these double negatives. He's been efficient, as opposed to he hasn't been inefficient.
Well, it just hasn't been base runners. You saw the strike to ball ratio there wasn't that great, but he's only allowed 1 base runner. There's been some deep counts, but at the end of the day, he's won the battle.
Yep. I ain't going to say that we're not a good ball club, because if I don't say it, then it's not true. Okay, Sparky. The 2-1. One hopper to Barney. It's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. Great to have you with us tonight from Philadelphia. Open up a 3-game weekend. Glenn and JD and our WGN crew. We've been in Pennsylvania all week.
Sparky Anderson, when he was managing the Tigers, once told Bill Gullickson, who was pitching for him, longtime major league pitcher, saw him in the hotel lobby and said, "Hey kid, don't worry about those strikeouts. You just keep hitting the ball out of the ballpark and you'll be fine." Gully said he just stood there shaking his head as Sparky walked away. Sparky confused them for, I'm guessing, Rob Deere.
Two 2-0 on Howard. Three 3-0. Bird on deck. Cubs lead 2-0 on a home run by Castro. The pitch. Pitcher's strike. Howard's from the St. Louis area.
Good pitch.
3-2.
Picking away at that outside corner. Didn't want to throw him a cookie on a 3-1 count.
Sharply hit grounder. Smothered by Castro. He's up with it. And he got him. So Castro with a go-ahead homer and a nice defensive play to help Arrieta get out of the fourth. The Phillies still without a hit through 4. Is brought to you by Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Underway in the 5th. Darwin Barney looks at a strike. Caught on the leap by Brignac.
Wow, good swing. Marte got him last night. This likely would have been a double. That's a good look at it here. You see Brignac moving forward up on the balls of his feet, ready to react. Hernandez just touched for the one home run by Castro here, but he's been up with that two-seamer quite a bit. Changeup maybe has been his best pitch tonight.
Hernandez was a 19-game winner back in '07 with Cleveland. 215 innings that year. Finished fourth in the American League Cy Young balloting. The postseason before that, he started 2 games in the American League Championship Series against Boston. At the end of his rookie campaign. Probably a strike, but for whatever reason, Mark Ripperger didn't call it. So new life.
Hernandez thought it was a strike. Arrieta was starting to back out like he was getting ready to make the walk back to the dugout. A little more zip on the fastball back in the day with Cleveland.
Rollins.
A Cubs group outing is a perfect way to entertain clients, reward employees, or have a great day at the ballpark with family and friends. The Cubs offer special ticket packages for groups of 15 or more with exclusive benefit options, including parking and Wrigley Field tours. Call the group sales office and speak directly with a sales associate at 773-404-4242 or visit Cubs.com/groups.
Coghlan singled to start the ball game and then was caught looking in the third. Shallow center and the slide and the catch by Gwynn, who's had a nice night defensively out there in center, but his team trails 2-0. the go-ahead 2-run shot in the 4th inning. Jake Arrieta has been really good. Yes. The second straight start, in fact. Start something special with great leases and low financing on a new Honda. Visit shophonda.com or visit your local Honda dealer. So Arrieta back to work against Marlon Byrd. Where do all the hippies meet? South Street.
South Street, Philadelphia.
I assume so. It's foul.
It's a long street. American Bandstand was in Philadelphia, right?
They had it, or at least a version of it, before the game tonight. You take West Street, East Street, North Avenue. Did you know Larry Fine was born in Philadelphia, 3rd and South?
I did not know that. Explains a lot of things.
You don't have a Fine, but there's a Howard in the lineup tonight.
For those of you who don't know, Larry Fine was one of the Three Stooges, the guy with the really cool hair.
Swing and a miss.
Find out a lot about a person if you ask them who their favorite stooge was.
What do you find out?
Well, I mean, if somebody were to say Mo, if you were asked who your favorite stooge was, and you said Mo, then you would have a pretty good read on that guy, wouldn't you?
Type A.
Be a little aggressive, maybe.
Who's your favorite?
Well, I kind of like Larry.
Kind of like Shemp.
You like Shemp?
I did. Yes.
I kind of like Curly. Curly and Larry, that'd be. If I had to rank my stooges, I would have a hard time deciding between Curly and Larry. Shemp would be down at the bottom.
You don't like bullies. Two strikes to Dominic Brown. Here's the pitch. Going away.
That slider he's got going tonight has been nasty. He's been able to throw it to both sides of the plate.
Cutter's hit into the corner. Fair, just fair for their first hit of the night. Dominic Brown with a 1-out double here in the 5th.
That approach will serve Brown well. So far, the number's not good for Dominic Brown. We talked about this club getting old, but they haven't gotten a lot of production from the guys in the prime of their careers either, namely Dominic Brown. He's a guy they expect a lot from. Pretty good swing there, though, on the backdoor cut, piece, slider, whatever it is.
I'm saying Cutter on those pitches just because of the sign Baker's putting down. Putting the index finger down with the thumb out. Usually slider you just put a 3.
Yeah.
So
see, that's where I'm getting into the whole. In my mind, a cutter doesn't go down. Pitch has depth.
Right.
It should be a slider.
Well, they look like sliders.
Yeah.
And like I said, he throws it hard. Buena will get him. So Ruiz is out.
Call it whatever he wants. It's working
It's
really well.
Good. Yeah, definitely has slider action. And he's thrown the harder pitch. I guess the harder one is the cutter, but they've had similar movement all night. So here's Brignac with 2 outs.
That always plays. You get over curveball with that kind of action, that's a free strike.
This one will be run down by a sliding Ryan Sweeney coming back from the hamstring sprain. Nicely done to get out of the inning. Jimmy Chamberlain, former drummer of Smashing Pumpkins, John Stirratt. From Wilco, Scott Lucas from Local H, Eddie Roser from Urge Overkill, Jared Gummery from the Ponies, Ed Belauskas, Tom Polchek, Gary Cleave from Shoes, Jenny D, Gerald Dowd, Matt Spiegel, our good friend from The Score, Phil Angotti, Jennifer Hall. What a list! And it's hot stove cool music 1 week from tonight over at Metro. MetroChicago.com for tickets. All proceeds benefit children's charities. 6th inning, Cubs with a 2-0 advantage. Hernandez on an 0-1, just missed the inside.
Hernandez, when he was doing all that good work for Cleveland that we talked about back in 06-07 in that stretch, was known as Fausto Carmona. And it's a good thing because they had the other Roberto Hernandez over there too at the time. That would have been very confusing.
Toward right, diving stop, Utley, throw to first. Out, he kept his foot on the bag. Ryan Howard had to go down to get it, but he was able to keep his toe on the base.
And this right side of the Philly infield has been very impressive tonight. The veterans making some outstanding plays. Here's Utley laying out quickly to his feet, and then Howard also laying out to get the out at first base. Did he stay on the bag? Yeah, he did. Sweeney fresh off the DL, and good to see him bounce right back up.
Rizzo has walked both times, scored in the fourth. The Castro homer, and he lofts one to center. Gwynn went back, now in. Then Carmona was arrested in the Dominican in January of 2012 using a false identity in order to get a U.S. visa. Also was found to be 3 years older than previously thought. Charges eventually were dropped as he completed a work program, and right after Castro hit a homer, wow, he kicked him out. Hernandez flunking Castro after he homered off him, and the quick hook by Mark Ripperger. No warning issued or anything.
Wow, that's surprising. It was almost like Ripperger wasn't going to make that call. Then he said, wait a minute, that's Castro. That's the guy who hit the home run off of him. Boy, that's awfully difficult to read intent. I mean, you know, somebody could say, well, he hit a home run, so he's going to drill him next time up. But
I'm saying no way he's throwing at him on purpose. And he might not finish here until he gets tossed. And there he goes. The umpire has the right to eject a pitcher without a warning. And you know what? He might be justified in doing it. I mean, the first pitch after hitting a homer, if Hernandez was throwing at him, it makes no sense to me, but
no, I don't
it looked like it was on purpose, didn't it?
No.
It doesn't?
No, because of the run he gets on his two-seamer.
Yes.
He flies open. He's a guy who gets a lot of movement on his two-seamer. And when his front shoulder flies open like that, he's going to get a lot more run. Think back to, you know, the pitch that, what's his name, bunted. You know, when the pitcher flies open, the fastball runs up and in.
Right. I
mean, I'm not saying for sure he didn't throw at him because he hit a home run off him last time up. But
well, he picked the wrong time to miss a spot on this. It's the home run. Didn't seem to be any funny business. But yeah, I'm surprised.
And also the way Hernandez reacted after the pitch on the mound, you know, unless he was just really selling it, but I think it was just a fastball that got away from him.
Okay, Mario Hollins will get as much time as he needs. Looks like Larry Bowa will take over as Rhino will head to the showers. So the left-hander Mario Hollins in for the ejected Roberto Hernandez. Let me say I'm shocked he got kicked out, but
yeah,
the umpire does have the right to throw him out if he deemed it was intentional.
Yes, he does have that right. My sense is it wasn't intentional, and my sense is that was bad umpiring. But, you know,
I would tend to agree. But
I mean, you can connect the dots, right? A guy hits a home run and then he gets hit, so I can understand why he would be thinking along those lines. You know, a lot of times as a pitcher too, what you do is you throw inside with the idea, well, if you don't get out of the way, it might hit you. But I'm not necessarily trying to drill a hitter. I'm just trying to push a guy off a plate. But even that, I don't think was the intention there.
So then the other question is, we get into this old school debate. Should Hernandez simply be allowed to hit Castro, and then the natural course of the game kind of, you know, if Benavides hits one of their guys?
Yeah, as long as it's not up around the head.
As opposed to kicking a guy out. Also, would he have kicked him out in the 3rd inning as opposed to the 6th? At this point, it doesn't tax the bullpen that much necessarily.
I think the umpire just reacted to the emotion of the moment. He saw a guy get hit, and which is always kind of a charged situation, and then flash, hey, this is the guy that took him deep last time.
Right.
That would have been special. It's a tough delivery for a left-handed hitter to contend with. Hides the ball really well.
Fouled back. We got him with the high fastball to end the inning. So 2 ejections here in the top of the 6th. The starter Hernandez, and then his manager sticking up for him. TSN, then we're back on WGN 12 Central on Sunday for a 30-minute leadoff man on Father's Day. And then we hit South Beach. Ford, go further in any one of Ford's many fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out America's freshest lineup at your local Ford store or at localfordstores.com. Cubs 2, Phillies nothing. And Ben Revere will hit for Hollins.
And I would think that Rick Renteria or Chris Bosio went over to Arrieta before he took the mound of this inning and said, hey, just go pitch. Don't worry about retaliation or anything like that. You got a 2-0 lead. Your responsibility is to win the ball game. Just go pitch. John Baker was chatting with Ripperberger, the home plate umpire, between innings, and I think he was probably saying, look, we're not going to retaliate here. My guy, he's going to pitch inside from time to time. Don't overreact. So many left-handed bats in this Philly lineup tonight. For the most part, when Arrieta's gone in on them, it's been with that slider cutter combination.
Revere chased one in the dirt.
MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, is celebrating 12 years. Join the millions of subscribers. Watch every out-of-market game live in true HD on over 400 devices. Visit Cubs.com for details.
Four-seamer right down the middle. 6 strikeouts, 1 walk, 1 hit.
Flipping through my scorebook last night, and it may be off by 1 or 2 because it was late and I was tired. But I looked at the whole 4-game series. And Pirate hitters only went down in order 1, 2, 3 6 times that entire 4-game series. Arrieta has retired the Phillies in order 3 times already here tonight.
Slider bounced foul. Still 1-2 on Gwynn. Calm conditions, no wind. It was pretty windy this afternoon here in Philly. As we mentioned, a lot of rain as well, but we've been dry to this point. Ball strike 3.
Hat trick for Tony Gwynn. Twice swinging, he now caught looking at a fastball. He was right, it was off the outside corner, but Baker is set up out there. Arrieta's been really sharp tonight, and he gets a call.
curve over.
Well, if you get wiggle room off that outside corner, you might as well stay out there. You don't have to overthink it.
Jake's 1-1. Popped him up. Foul territory. Valbuena over. At the barrier, he makes the catch. And the inning is over. Jake Arrieta dominating this Phillies lineup tonight. Mike Schmidt waiting for Rollins to tie and pass his hit mark. Time to check out our WGN Cubs fan cam.
Of all that hardcore dance that has gotten to be a little bit out of control. It's cool to dance, but what about a groove that soothes and moves romance? Give me a soft, subtle mix, and if it ain't broke, then don't try to fix it. And think of the summers of the past. Adjust the bass and let the Alpine blast. Pop in my CD and let me run around and put your car on cruise and lay back, cause it's summertime.
Good stuff. DJ Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince with Summertime. Revere stays in and plays center. The new pitcher is Antonio Bastardo.
Antonio 3-3 with a .334 earned run average on for the 30th time. It's been tough to hit. 16 hits and 29 2/3. Walk numbers aren't good.
Thanks to tweeter Steve Hudson for sending a link to Jesse Rogers' Q&A, or actually mailbag he did today. ESPN Chicago.com, and a fan asked Jake Arrieta about his cutter, and he says it's a slider. He said it gets called a cutter because it's so hard, but instead of differentiating, he just said it's a slider. So that's what we'll call it from now on.
Yeah,
it's been really good tonight.
Yeah, you know, he tried a changeup or two early, but I don't think he's thrown many of those. I think he's lived with that fastball slider combination. Command has been really, really good.
Bounce to the pull side, foul.
Usually you think for a starting pitcher to survive in this league, to be a guy who could pitch through a major league lineup at least 3 times in a start, he's going to need 3 pitches, and normally that is the case. But this guy has got plus stuff. He's got a 95-mile-an-hour fastball that he's locating tonight, and that slider's been devastating. He's got that nasty curveball, so he doesn't really need that changeup.
Sherholt's frozen. 1 away here in the 7th. Schlitter and Wright up in the Cubs bullpen. Hernandez made just 81 pitches before he got kicked out in the 6th. No doubt that'll be a big topic of conversation after the ball game for Ryan Sandberg, who clearly disagreed with Mark Ripperger's call from behind home plate. One and one to John Baker. He has a hit with a runner in scoring position tonight. The teams have combined for an 0 for 5, but with a runner at first, Castro hit a 2-run homer.
Just 4 total hits in the ball game. Jake Arrieta is about 18 inches away from having a no-hitter. The double he allowed right down the left field line, just barely fair.
Outer third for a strike. Well, let me ask you this. Do you like warnings in general, or do you think that?
No, for me, no.
If you're going to kick a guy out, do you need a warning?
No, I think warnings kind of muddy up the situation.
It almost, in some cases, can heighten it when it doesn't need to be.
Right.
What's the old Robin Williams joke about police over in England? Stop, or I'll say stop again. Now that's it, you guys.
Yeah,
cut it out. And
if
you don't cut it out, I'm going to tell you to cut it out again. Baker fans, 2 outs.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, I think Tina Fey has a bit where she does the thing about, I'm going to count to 3 when you with your kids. I'm going to. I never know what's going to happen if I ever get to 3. I'm hung because I don't know what I'm going to do.
1, 2, 2.5. But not tonight. Mark Ripperger didn't warn anybody. He just threw him out.
Didn't even count to 1. Another hard out for Barney.
Cubs go down 1, 2, 3. Summertime and Billy 2-zip Cubs.
Of all that hardcore dance that has gotten to be a little bit out of control. It's cool to dance, but what about a groove that soothes and moves romance?
and Starlin Castro. Here's all the offense for the Phillies tonight.
It's at 18 inches from a no-hitter. How about 3 inches? That ball right on the line. The only base hit for the Phillies tonight. A one-out double by Dominic Brown in the 5th. Pretty good.
This 1964 uniform every start. He gets an out here in the 7th. It'll be his longest outing of the year. 6 innings in 3 of his first 7 assignments. As he faces Utley, followed by Howard and Bird. And a strike call. Well, Larry Bowa at one time managed the Phillies, and that's what he's doing again tonight. He's the right-hand man to his former teammate, Ryne Sandberg. And as you can imagine, he is a big Chase Utley fan. Notice how he goes about his business. He drills one to right, and Sherholtz barely has to move. One thing about Larry Bowa, and I've gotten along very well with him over the years, a really smart guy, but the biggest problem he has sometimes is if people ask him a question, he answers it.
Yeah, he's very blunt and very straightforward, and he's got a little bit of trouble here recently because he kind of fired on his club. You got some guys here in Major League uniforms that aren't Major League players. Yeah, I think it's good. I think there should be a little tension on the ball club. Nothing wrong with that. Everybody leans to the same side of the boat. The boat's going to tip over.
Well, the Cubs got Starling Marte hot, and he has stayed hot. He's got 4 hits tonight, including a home run.
Yeah, I noticed they were up in double digits again tonight.
He's 4 for 4. Polanco's 3 for 4. McCutchen's 2 for 4. Ike Davis has 2 hits. And Arrieta continues to deal.
Yeah, you get the sense here Jake could go about 14 shutout tonight. The way he's just blowing through this Philly lineup. Waste one. He's going to throw me a curveball. I'm not going to chase. Oh, 94 at the knees. See ya.
Bird has struck out both times. You see former Cubs Scott Air just dropped by to say hello as Castro backhands. Throw to first, gets by. I think Bird would have been safe either way. I'm giving him a hit. And they're giving him a hit.
You and the official score.
Felt like a very comfortable lead with the way Arrieta has pitched. All of a sudden, a tying run at the plate in Dominic Brown.
This is where a lot of times you see a pitcher start to pitch away from contact. Understandably so. You get into the later stages of a tight game. The tying run is in the batter's box, and that's kind of been his MO here tonight. Usually it's more with that curveball. That time is kind of a little hybrid slurvy breaking ball, but he's been able to throw that pitch for strike one on 0-0. When most guys, they're just going up there, they're looking for a fastball, or they're looking to lay off the breaking ball and hope to get into a hitter's count. He's been able to find the strike zone with it a high percentage of the time. It's in situations like this where you have to remind yourself, just keep pitching one pitch at a time. Don't get too far out in front with your thinking. He just overthrew 2 in a row, the high fastball and that breaking pitch. Just get a little amped up, try to find a little something extra under duress, and then you lose command.
Brown went around. That's big. 2-2 now instead of 3-1. It's 2-2. With 2 outs.
Trying to bury that slider down and in. Not close enough to get Brown to chase. Hey, look at those guys. Pretty solid there.
Oh, yeah. Good hat's working.
Like some kind of a secret code. Good job by Baker keeping Bird at first base. So kind of the safety valve too now has been that 2-seamer away. The home plate umpires had a little bit of a big zone down and away.
Got him on the slider. Maintains his shutout on 2 hits through 7. By Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Ford, manufacturers of America's best-selling brand. Check out our best-selling lineup at your local Ford store or online at localfordstores.com. And by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Mike Oak will pinch hit for Jake Arrieta. We said his last time out might have been his best start as a Cub, but I think he has topped that tonight.
Yeah, impressive stuff from Arrieta here this evening. Complete control. Now it's just sit back and wait. Hope his boys play a little add-on here for him so there's not as much drama to deal with in his final 2 innings. Swing and a miss there from Mike Cole, but that's what Ricky Renteria is looking for. He doesn't want him to be passive. Go ahead, you get a pitch in the strike zone, let it fly. Kind of like that sage advice that Sparky Anderson gave to Bill Gullickson so many years ago.
Don't worry about the strikeouts.
Don't worry about the strikeouts, kid.
One and two. So he is.
I see that's an example of the one he wants Mike to attack. You know, the fact that he took that fastball tells you that he's just thinking a little too much.
And he's now 0 for his last 21.
The Cubs invite you to take advantage of free remote parking and shuttle services on night and weekend games. The remote parking lot is located at 3900 North Rockwell. For details, visit Cubs.com. Yeah, you know, Mike's in a tough bind. Renteria's in a tough bind with Mike. He's trying to find him a soft landing in terms of starts, get him some matchups against guys where he feels like he can have some success, and maybe that'll get him going. But in the meantime, he has to use them to pinch hit, and that's a really hard job for anybody, and especially so for a young player who doesn't have a lot of experience doing it.
Ground ball to Utley. Sweeney fresh off the DL. Replacing Emilio Bonifacio, who went on the disabled list today with a rib cage injury, inflammation in the rib cage, which sounds a heck of a lot better or less serious than it looked when he toppled to the ground in his first and only at bat last night. That left field line behind the tarp and out of play. I said this off the air, I'll say it on the air. I think with these 1964 uniforms go to show you, they got it right a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm with you.
50 years ago, I think both teams had these uniforms right where you'd want them today. If they were wearing these uniforms all the time, I don't think either team's fans would have a problem with it. Phillies basically are. But, P on the hat and the helmet is slightly different. And a lot of great feedback on the Cubs unis. Little leap and a grab by Rollins. 2-0 Cubs late. On in the 8th. Cubs leading 2-0.
The Phillies don't get a break in terms of the stuff they're going to see. Arrieta was lighting up that radar gun. Strop certainly can do the same. He's 0-3 with a 4.34 ERA. League bats .209 against him. His issues have been command issues. 11 walks and 18 2/3. He's had to pitch around traffic from time to time, and there's a home plate umpire out there to chat with him, probably letting him know that there's a warning in effect after the ejection of Hernandez and Sandberg after the incident in which Hernandez hit Castro. Sounds like we're talking politics.
Ruiz, Brignac, and Revere. Sliders outside. Raining in Baltimore. Blue Jays leading the Orioles. The bottom of the 7th, 2-0. Fastball strike. Twins 1, Tigers nothing. As they go to the 8th. Eduardo Escobar with a 3rd inning home run. Lined into center for leadoff single.
So much for 2 stress-free innings for Arrieta, who tries to pick up his 2nd win of the year. Leadoff knock here by Ruiz, and again the Phillies will bring the tying man to the plate.
Brignac's been the man of the week. A couple of big hits the last 2 days to help them win their final 2 games of that series and sweep the Padres. First time tonight they've had the leadoff man on base. Good backhanded pick there by Baker to keep that ball from the backstop. Obviously, you'd rather not see a catcher backhanded, but that's not a pitch you're expecting to be in that spot.
96-mile-an-hour scud that far out in front of home plate.
Yeah. Breaking ball, yeah. Not that. Ruiz will get second on a wild pitch. Meanwhile, 1 and 2 on Brignac.
Talk a lot about hitters being ready for the ball in the dirt, and that is exactly the case there. Ultimately, there was no play to be made because the ball squirted through Baker. He tries to square up behind it, but it just gets under his arm a little bit. But Ruiz was off as soon as that ball hit the dirt. So even if John were able to keep it in front, Ruiz would have made it into scoring position. Long road trip. This is game 5 of 10. Cubs
dropped 3 out of 4 in Pittsburgh. Back to Strop. Ruiz holding at second. 1 out. Revere struck out as a pinch hitter in the 6th. Ground ball to Castro again. Ruiz has to get back to second.
There's some bluebirds coming out here.
For Gwynn. He's been hot lately.
He's been really good in the pinch. 3 home runs as a pinch hitter this year. You look at the overall numbers for Mayberry. Batting .500 off the bench. 7 out of 14 with 3 home runs.
Overall, over his last 16 games, hitting .412.
So if they gave like a Manny Moto award or something like that for the best pinch hitter, he would be the leading candidate right now.
I would say so. And they should have that sort of award. That's a tough job to do. The Manny Mota or the Lenny Harris?
Yeah, Lenny Harris. Really good one.
Strop with a 1-0. It's low and outside. Rollins on deck. We're in the 8th.
Phillies averaging just a little over 30,000 here. That's 69% capacity. For years, you couldn't get a ticket in this ballpark.
Under 30 tonight. 26,154. The paid crowd. Hitters count for Mayberry, and he airs it out and missed it. 2-1.
What you want your hitter to do, though. Cheat on a fastball. You're down 2. He's got home run power. Still has 2 strikes to play with.
Two bouncer right to Barney. Strop works around the leadoff single. And they strand Ruiz at second. We go to the 9th. 2-0 Cubs. Two-run homer from Starlin Castro in the 4th inning, and that's been it for the run scoring to this point. We're in the 9th. And the Phillies will go with Justin DeFreitas, the right-hander. I made a mistake in the 8th. I said Mayberry hitting for Gwynn. He was hitting in the pitcher spot, of course. Gwynn came out.
Freitas 1-0 in 12 games with the big club this year and a 2.57 ERA. Throws a boatload of sliders. This year he's thrown it about 50% of the time. A fastball that averages around 92, 93 miles an hour.
Who was up in the Cubs pen? It is Neil Ramirez. And what would be a safe spot at the moment with a 2-run lead. And it'll be Rollins, Utley, and Howard, part of their order. Boy, has he come in and shot through the bullpen like a comet. Closing ball games now. There's a base hit for Rizzo.
Staying back nicely on the backdoor slider. Chance for a little insurance here now in the 9th. Rondon, he hasn't been out there in a while.
Castro is struck out, hit a 2-run homer, and then got hit by a pitch. Inside from DeFreitas, and the home fans love it. And Starlin got a kick out of it.
Again, there's no intent there, so that's essentially what Hernandez did. This time Starlin able to get out of the way of it.
That reaction was priceless. Pulled off on that breaking ball.
An element of, well, I don't think they're throwing at me, but maybe they are in that swing. He was just looking to unload. He was hoping to catch a 2-seamer moving in on him. You don't want to get careless, though. You got a 2-run ball game here. You want to have good at bats.
Pounding ball foul. Interesting, isn't it? We'd be sitting here on June 13th looking out at the Cubs bullpen and a 2-run lead in the 9th, wondering if last year's Rule 5 pick or if a rookie who wasn't really on the radar in spring training would be out there. That's how much things have changed. Double play ball. Rollins will take it by himself. 6-3. And let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. Len and JD here at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia, right near where the old vet used to stand. Kind of interesting. Here in Philadelphia, they've got all the major sports franchises, and they're all housed here within about a block. Eagles play across the street, so do the Flyers and the Sixers.
Ramirez out there getting instruction from Lester on who's coming up, and it's Rollins, Utley, and Howard. How about that? Go get him, kid.
We don't know if there's anything going on with Rondon, if they like the matchup with Ramirez tonight, or simply it was just his night. He was going to get the night.
Well, I think there's a willingness to use both guys in the closer's role, but Rondon hasn't pitched in a while now, so that leads me to believe he's a little tender. There's something going on there.
Well, they've given guys multiple days off. You know, the guy works 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 5. Ricky has given them not only 1, but in some cases 2 days off back to back.
For Rondon, it's been a week.
You know why? Because of all these young arms. The Cubs have gone with an extra reliever. And it sounds like that'll continue.
Yeah, and I think that makes perfect sense. You want to protect guys. You're trying to build something here going forward. You don't want to blow anybody out. Well, if you're in go for it mode, you're in a pennant race. You take some chances. Maybe you're willing to push some guys, but where the Cubs are right now in their development, there's no real need to do that. It can be frustrating if you're a position player or you're a starting pitcher and there's an unwillingness to use who you feel like is the best guy for the job on a given night. But big picture, it makes perfect sense.
Freitas for the 2-2 and a swing and a miss by Valbuena to end the inning. Bottom of the ninth coming up. Here comes Neil Ramirez. Starlin Castro in the 4th. Jake Arrieta terrific tonight. Pedro Strop a scoreless 8. And hard-throwing rookie right-hander Neil Ramirez with some sterling numbers. 24 strikeouts in 15 innings.
Well, this has been a fun night for the scouts to sit back there with those radar guns and watch one arm after another come out of these bullpens, blowing gas, and Ramirez certainly does that. 96, 97 mile an hour fastball, 0.60 ERA. He's allowed 1 run so far. The solo home run, that's all he's given up. 15 innings, 6 hits, 6 strikeouts for every walk. Just spectacular stuff from the young right-hander. Great inning. You got these veterans due up for the Phillies that have had so much experience, like so many big games, not only in the regular season but the postseason. Then you got this young rookie out there to have to work his way through Rollins, Utley, and Howard to get to the finish line.
Neil turned 25 a few weeks ago. Virginia Beach, Virginia.
The other part that factors into this whole improbability of it that you were talking about, the Rule 5 pick, and didn't make the club. Now he's the closer. Pretty much been a starting pitcher throughout his minor league career.
The other interesting thing, his numbers at AAA this year.
Yeah.
6 appearances, 7 innings, 6 runs, 2 homers, 5 walks, 11 strikeouts. Get a 7.71 ERA. At AAA and an 0.60 here at the big league level. Rollins pulls it into the corner, off the wall. It's a fair ball, and he's going to keep on moving. No, he's going to hold with a double, and he has just tied Mike Schmidt with career hit number 2,234 atop the Phillies all-time hit list with a leadoff double.
Fastball down and in. He's always been quick. And that part of the strike zone stays in the ballpark. Probably could have easily had third base, but no reason to push it down 2.
Standing ovation for Jimmy Rollins. And now Ramirez to get locked in to face Chase Utley. And this is always easier said than done, but Ramirez has just got to forget about Rollins.
Yes.
Right? I mean, it's irrelevant.
Yeah, we saw it the other night. Remember, he had a 3-run lead, and he came in and he ended up balking because he was going to make a pickoff throw to first base, and Anthony was playing behind the runner.
Well, the batter right now is the guy. The tying run. The 0-1. He hits it in the air. Long run over for Coghlan. Still coming. And he makes the catch in foul territory. 1 away.
Yeah, we talk a lot about pitchers holding base runners and splitting or dividing their attention and 90-10 or 50-50 or whatever. In this instance, it's 100% focus on the hitter, 0 on Rollins at second base. You don't even need to check him. Absolutely meaningless out there.
Ramirez holds the ball with a changeup grip. And he gets the sign. Rollins takes off for third. He'll get it standing.
That's one where Valbuena shouldn't even break to cover the base. You don't even want to respond to that. You don't want to open up that hole.
1-1 on Ryan Howard.
Still trying to figure out why Rollins would even run there. I mean, it was just trying to collect a stat.
I don't think they even gave him a steal. Two and one. Here it comes. Howard went. No appeal. The call was made by the home plate umpire Ripperger. You got it right.
Enough. Yeah. He might be able to catch that fastball down, but up, no sir.
And he does not catch up to it. 2 away.
Great pitch. Howard kind of dips that back shoulder, a little bit of an uppercut swing to catch up to 96 with that swing. In that location, it's not going to happen.
Bird, 1 out of 3. Called strike. It's easy to say this because Ramirez has had statistical success, but he certainly shows a lot of moxie out there.
Yeah, for a young guy who's been put in some pressure situations, he is not panicked. He had to kind of stay calm. I guarantee you that heart is just thumping in his chest, but being able to keep it together and for the most part make pitches.
His 2-1 is too high.
Overthrowing a little bit now. Deep breath. Gather yourself and make a pitch. Just trying to power a four-seam fastball to the outside part of the plate and down. Back over the middle. That's the beauty of 95. You can get away with it.
Brown on deck. Ramirez would rather just not even face him. Get Bird here and get out of here with a victory. 3-2. Here it is. Popped him up. And Rizzo will just watch it drop to the seats. Jackson and Buchanan tomorrow. Presidential matchup.
Whoop. Dangerous one there. Back up slider, stayed up in the zone.
Rollins started the inning with a double. He's at third now, 2 outs. Each team with 4 hits tonight. The big one, a home run by Castro back in the 4th. Pitch number 9 of the sequence.
Who's going to blink first? Does Bird cheat, try to get out in front of one of these fastballs and risk being fooled by a breaking pitch? Or does Ramirez / Baker come off the fastball and see if they can lock him up with a breaking ball? Perfect.
Ooh, didn't get the call. Ooh.
Great try. There's been some leeway on that outside corner tonight. This one, wow, just off the edge. But we've seen a lot of, yeah, it was a good call. We've seen a lot of pitches like that called strikes tonight, but that one was a good call.
Bird was able to take it. We don't know, but he's a veteran hitter. And it's up to Brown. And a strike.
Good start.
On the ground, and it's going to get into right. Rollins will score. Bird will head to third. And the Phillies still have some life. It's 2-1.
Looked like they were trying to go in with a breaking ball, much like Arrieta had throughout the night, but it just leaked back out over the plate. And now he has to deal with the veteran Ruiz, who's gotten so many big hits over the years for this Philly club. He's expending a lot of energy out there. This is a good visit by Bosio, just to calm things down a little bit here. Make sure Ramirez is in a good place mentally.
Yeah, and we did not even see Rondon in the bullpen, so I don't know if they're just giving him a little extra time off or what. But the fact that he has not even gotten up out there would lead you to believe that he's completely unavailable tonight. But here's Ruiz.
Yeah, the fact that Ramirez was handed the ball to start the night says, well, he's Ricky's closer for the night. He's my guy tonight, and this is the way managers use closers. They live or die with him.
Double foul out, strikeout, walk, and an RBI single, and here we are. First and third, 2 outs. Ball 1. Now there is a base open here. You don't want, however, to walk the winning run into scoring position. Brignac is on deck. 1-0 on Ruiz.
He's a hard guy to overpower. He doesn't strike out very often. So, obviously Neil plays the power game, but now it's more about location. Just good quality pitches in good spots.
There goes Brown, and a foul back our way. Nobody's told Brown to go back to first yet. He was just going to stay there. Bird the tying run, Brown the winning run.
Yeah, it's a situation where you might want to try to bounce a breaking ball, but dangerous for the man on third base.
Ramirez has run into a veteran group here in this Phillies order in the ninth. Guys like Rollins and Utley and Howard. Bird had a great at bat. Carlos Ruiz here. There's Rondon. Watching from the dugout as his teammate tries to get out of this ninth inning jam. Brown goes again. Caught strike three. Cubs win. Ruiz took the breaking ball, and Ramirez gets out of it, gives up a run, but notches the save.
Yeah, nice job. Nice job. You're able to overpower Howard with the high fastball, but Ruiz is a different animal. You really got to execute pitches, and boy, he does. He drops that curveball right on the outside corner. That is a big-time quality pitch under pressure.
So your final score in a thriller from Philadelphia. The Cubs 2, the Phillies 1.